Cusick here with iHorror.com. We're here at Midsummer Scream in Long Beach, California. I'm here with Krystale Noir.
Hi.
And we're going to chat with her real quick. She's very unique. She's not hasn't done too much acting, but her uniqueness comes from her as a social media influencer. Actually, a spooky social media influencer. So that's where the uniqueness comes from. So can you tell me a little bit about your brand, because that is what ultimately defines you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to consider myself a Spooky Ooky content creator, and I say Spooky Ooky because I'm just a little quirky and a little kooky. So so basically my brand is, I consider myself just kind of like a girly cool. I love going to anything spooky, from haunts to the horror conventions, Halloween events, and just embracing everything that's spooky, but also I can't help but be a little girly in the process, so I just kind of say I'm a girly ghoul content, Spooky Ooky content creator.
So we're going to talk about your specific brand, which is Cherry Noir Vintage.
So Cherry Noir Vintage, I started actually right before the pandemic, and then the pandemic happened, so it kind of got put on hold, but I'm still able to kind of collect more along the way. So basically it started because I am a Halloween and horror memorabilia collector, and I love all things that's vintage and spooky. I've been a collector since I was a kid, and now being an adult, you can imagine I have doubles, and I have just a lot of things that I wanted to give a better home to. So I'm like, I should start a little vintage shop. And that's where it basically stemmed from. So I do these spooky horror events, horror cons, here and there, because it's hard to keep a vintage shop stocked sometimes. Sometimes it comes easier than others. So that's basically how it was born. And since then, I also started designing shirts as well. This is one of my best sellers, because along the way, I was like, I would love to see that on a shirt. So I started doing that, and I have a couple designs and a lot more in the works. And they all have a little bit of like a retro, vintage, kind of spooky vibe to them, which I like, and a little bit of colorful, some fun mashups. There's some more on the horizon that are very recognizable in the font. So that's basically Cherry Noir Vintage.
There's a lot that goes into vintage. You have vintage, the hot commodity right now is VHS movies.
Yes.
What are some of your VHS movies that your prize collection, in your collection?
Oh,
you would never give up?
I have a few of those.
Specifically horror.
Yes. Well, I have a Halloween collection, John Carpenter's Halloween. It has 1, 2, and 3, and it's a blockbuster box collection with all 3 in a special case. It is beautiful, and it still says like Blockbuster on it. So that's one of my prized possessions. It's just so pretty. It makes me so happy when I walk by my VHS collection, and that one's always like right in front. I also have all the Scream movies on VHS, which is a little hit or miss, like to be hard to obtain. But I have a special, still sealed VHS of Scream with commentary from Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven on it, which that brand new within itself and VHS. It's worth a pretty penny, and it is priceless. It means so much to me. I'm like, I would love to open it to pop it into the VHS player, but I don't want to do that either. So that's one of my other favorites that I just love. And then lastly is my Monster Squad VHS, because it's Monster Squad.
Yeah. Probably Monster Squad. And it's almost like you want to buy 2 copies or get 2 copies of something, so you open that one.
Yes, the other one. Yes, exactly.
And so my next thing is, I know VHS is a hot commodity. Also, books.
Yes.
What kind of books do you have in your collection?
So a lot of people know Cherry Noir Vintage for being big for having Goosebumps books, because I have so many, and I come across so many as well. So I sell a lot of Goosebumps books. They're definitely the hot commodity of my line. It's really cool to have return customers and new customers look for my shop on the vendors list and try to get to me first, because they know I'm going to sell out of Goosebumps books. It happens every event. And I'll put like a little preview post in our stories at Cherry Noir Vintage on Instagram, and people are like, I want that one, I'm going to come there and get it immediately when the event opens. So that's definitely, I'll have some Stephen King books or Christopher Pike books in there as well, but Goosebumps for sure. Yep.
Especially the ones with the original artwork.
Yes, the original.
They've come out with so many different variations over time.
Yeah. It's so nostalgic when you hold that in your hands, and it's just like, I read this when I was younger.
Yeah.
And even too, I will sell some of the newer artwork as well because it's really cool. But my favorite is actually when kids come and buy the books and they want to read them. I love that part so much because I'm like, yes, we're showing them while they're young and they want to read the Goosebumps books, and like we had that experience when we were younger, so it's cool to see it still carry on. So I love that as well.
And we did speak, about movies and how you're more kind of behind the scenes, versus in front of the camera, and one of that is being makeup.
Yes.
So tell me, you worked on Rob Zombie's Free from Hell.
Yes.
You did some makeup on it. Can you tell me about that experience?
Yeah. So before I was Krystale Noir, in front of the camera content creator, I was behind the camera a lot, and I started as a makeup artist. So I've got to work on a few films. One of the coolest ones was Free from Hell, Rob Zombie's Free from Hell. I worked on doing pickup shots, so after post-production, I need to go back in and shoot some more things, and that was an amazing experience working with Rob. I know they say don't work with your idols, but he was like a pleasure to work with. He was just awesome, and it was just a really great experience. He's a hard worker too, behind being the director, he doesn't just stay behind the monitor. He would get up and go in there and move things around on set. If we were touching up wardrobe, he would get in there and even fix a necklace or so he's really awesome, and that was a really cool experience just because it's Rob Zombie, someone that I've seen concerts of and seen the films, and being a fan and be able to say I worked with him was awesome. Once in a lifetime. Amazing.
I know they say, like you mentioned, don't work with their idols, but how could you pass it that up?
I know, exactly. And I just had an intuitive feeling he was going to be awesome, and I was right. Yeah.
And you often do, obviously, conventions.
Yes.
Also as a vendor.
Yes.
Where are you going to be vending at next? What's your next convention or pop-up?
Yeah, so when I'm not doing content creation, I'm vending at Cherry Noir Vintage. The next event I have is in August, on August 12th, and that is called Wicked Fest in Ukaipa. After that, we have Creep It Real OC in Santa Ana. And then lastly will be in October, which is Salem's Market in Ontario. So those are my next 3 lined up, all a little bit spaced out, so I can have all the good vintage goods for the customers and all the Goosebumps books.
Awesome. And we are coming into spooky season, so you're going to be very, very
busy, yes. So, and it's when October gets here, I know a lot of us, we still work a bit. We also like to also play and try to go to a pumpkin patch or a movie screening or a Halloween party. And of course, all the haunts.
And what's your favorite horror film? What's your absolute?
Oh man,
probably the hardest question.
I know, John Carpenter's Halloween for sure. That's my number 1 favorite. I have some honorable mentions because I also like they're not everyone's favorites, but I love them. There's one, Tales from the Crypt, Bordello of Blood. I always give an honorable mention to. I love that film. I also really love Slumber Party Massacre 2 and Creep Show 2. A lot of number 2s are my favorites. There's so many more. I love Carrie, I love Pet Sematary, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but number 1 is always John Carpenter's Halloween.
I'm sure very influential for you as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And I have to ask, because everyone, not mine, I'm going to be lynched for this. Creep Show is not my favorite one. The second one is. Personally, everybody, not even will think that. Why is Creep Show your favorite?
The raft! Let's be real. I feel like that had us all shook to go into the water for at least even a little bit. You have a moment when you're like, is that thing moving, and is it gonna come on up and eat me alive? So the raft. When I was younger, that shook me.
And the ending, with no swimming sign, they pan out.
Yes, so good. And honestly, a lot of the horror I like too, they go into 70s, into 80s, which I think translate into why I have a vintage shop, because I just love a mix of some retro or some groovy into my spooky.
When I think vintage is, it's part of our hearts. And, I see some of your stuff and it takes me back to my childhood. That book, that movie, that puzzle, that picture, even that shirt, it just takes you back. And there's something people people love that. They hang on to that.
Yes.
It's just and it's something that'll never go away.
That's what's really priceless.
Yep.
And when people come to my booth, and even if they don't purchase something, but they got that nostalgic feeling, that makes me so happy, and that warms my spooky little heart. That it's fine. Like like people can come by and not buy anything. They can hold on to the VHS or the book, or like I sell McDonald's like Halloween toys, and they can hold on to that for a second. Like I had this, and they put it back down. They still had that cheerful moment, and they like went back in time for like a second. I love that.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to give to my booth, and as I keep vetting these events, I keep adding on because I want it to be a whole like shopping nostalgic experience. So yeah.
And even just, it's not even just the sight or holding, it's the smell. It's when you go, you smell those books.
The books have a
And
smell.
Yeah, and it takes you back in time, like you said.
Yeah, just like rewinding a tape has a sound that
It
we all
does.
love.
Even when it breaks.
Oh no, that's the worst.
And so if you could work with, this is another hard question. If you could work with one other person, just choose one to work with on a film, who would it be?
Work with on a
Yeah.
film.
Could be a filmmaker, an actor, actress.
Oh my goodness, how are you gonna do this to me right now? What would I say?
You can have some honorable mentions, I'll give you that.
Okay, well, what comes to mind is actually not in the horror community. He's not with us. I love Chris Farley. Chris Farley and John Candy are like some of my favorites. So if this is a question that they can come back from the
Yeah,
dead.
we would do Living or Dead.
Yeah, that, and Vincent Price.
Yeah.
I guess like alive now to work on a film. This is so hard. What comes to mind would be, and he's not necessarily known for being an actor.
Yeah.
He has done some film stuff. Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
And then someone also too. She's done some film. She has done her own film, and she's in the same community. I love Bridget Markloff. She is the she's the host of the Ghost Magnet, and she does these events as well. And I always just appreciate her because she's like another girly ghoul, and also being done Macabre modeling, and she's done modeling as we know. I would love to just get to work with her and like learn more about her experiences and see because I feel like there's a similarity we have, so I would just love that.
That is awesome.
I probably feel like later I will think of other people, but this is what just comes to mind right now.
That's how it always works.
Yeah.
And then we'll end it with, like you just mentioned, the burlesque. You were a burlesque dancer.
Yeah.
And you still are, but
Yes.
you've had an actual show.
Yeah.
So can you describe that, how you got into that?
Yeah, so I was part of a group called the Black Veils, and that's where Krystale Noir, the name Krystale Noir was born, and it just stayed on through. I still consider myself, a burlesque dancer. You're right, I'm just on a little bit of a break. And basically how that started is when I moved here to Southern California about 8 years ago. I went to this event called Ink and Iron that was on the Queen Mary, which is not far from where we are standing right now. And I saw this burlesque dancer, and she danced to, I want to say it was a Perfect Circle or a Tool song. And I was like, oh, I need to do that. So I just started training and taking classes. And keep in mind, I had like a little bit of dance experience, like maybe only like 2 years under my belt, 2 to 3 years. So I worked really hard, took a bunch of classes. I did training in burlesque. And then my teacher was also a troupe leader of the group Black Veil. She was starting that, and she brought me on to do makeup for the girls, right, for their photo shoots. And over time, it went from doing that, getting to know some more of the girls, to I kept training, and then I turned into the baby veil. So I was like the Black Veil in training, and eventually, a couple years later, I made my way to the stage and never looked back.
That is awesome. So you actually come full circle.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll go ahead and end it right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
today.
having me.
This was great.
This is
And
fun.
hope that one-
Yes, I would love that. Yes.
And we'll link all your stuff in the body and let's go back.
I know, right?
Bye.
Bye.